What does the foreign terrorist organization designation of the Cartel de los Sols signal about Washington's broader strategy toward Venezuela?
Oh, thanks for having me on your show again. And it's important to note that as soon as President Trump came into office in February, there was a designation of 7 of these types of groups as foreign terrorist organizations, these narco gangs. And this is just the most recent addition to that list. It's intended to signal at least the intent that the administration views these groups not just as a criminal enterprise, but as a national security threat, and therefore to rationalize their kinetic or military actions that are being taken and seen on video feeds in the Pacific Ocean and the Caribbean. That's fundamentally what this is.
Sir, you mentioned that there are 7, right? I heard right?
Yes, and now
7,
there's the addition. Yes.
7 of them. And
Yes.
sir, why do you see that there's from these cartels a threat on anything in the United States?
So many of these organized gangs and the acting on behalf of the trillion-dollar industry cartel of narcotics trafficking are on American streets, actually killing Americans either through the pushing of their drugs, but also very directly in political intimidation and basically also attacking police that might be interfering with their trade. So it's a very real and violent presence on American streets that's originating from Latin American places such as Venezuela, the jungles of Colombia, and even up in Bolivia as well. But it's really government. The only government that's being controlled by these cartels is the one that's in Venezuela today.
How significant is the redeployment of U.S. naval assets, including the USS Gerald R. Ford, sir, to the Caribbean? And is this primarily symbolic or operationally decisive?
I'm not sure it'll be operationally decisive. What it's really intended to do is to provide the president of the United States more options. I don't think the priority is to do an invasion or an assault into Venezuela, because quite frankly, the destruction of the cartels, which really is the goal here, not the toppling of the Maduro regime. The Maduro regime, of course, can't survive without the cartels, but the focus of all the military forces that you see are going after the cartels in small scale insertions if necessary, but really sinking their ships. And I think with the aircraft carrier, probably also going after the air freight that they might be putting some of their cargo on as the ships are being taken off, being sunk.
Sir, how have the United States political and diplomatic strategies towards Venezuela evolved with Rubio's influence in this? What's your narrative?
I'm not sure it's really evolved because of Senator Rubio, now Secretary of State. It's certainly the United States has been in this trajectory for quite a while. It's an unsustainable scourge of death, killing over 100,000 Americans most recently in 2023 and upwards of 73,000 this year and counting. So it is a very clear and present danger that's costing many thousands of American lives. And I think where we are today is inevitable to put an end to it. And I think it's Secretary Rubio is just the most explicit and certainly one of the more articulate in communicating the American position and why this is a necessary action. And quite frankly, it seems to be welcomed by many in the region that also are threatened by these drug cartels.
Yes, sir, but the Telegraph mentions that yeah, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is intensifying his efforts for regime change in Venezuela with strong influence. Rubio's long-standing ideological mission targets ousting Nicolas Maduro. This is what the newspaper says. So I want you
Yeah.
to elaborate more and tell us more about it. It's not about Venezuela. It's not about Maduro. It's about now that Rubio is the one that's pushing for this, not the U.S. administration.
Well, clearly, I mean, Secretary Rubio, if you look back at his personal history as a Cuban immigrant, the child of a Cuban immigrant that fled Fidel Castro's disastrous communist regime in the 50s, I mean, there's clearly he's anti-communist. And I think for very good reasons. And many in the Trump administration, I think, share that. But there is no appetite in the conservative movement and, quite frankly, more broadly in the American public for engaging in what's called forever wars or an intervention to try to forcefully remove another government. More importantly, I keep coming back to the cartels are the lifeblood for the Maduro regime. And it's also for a lot of these ideologically bound socialist regimes because they're bankrupt policies and economic policies. You take out the cartels, you take out the ideology in these Latin American socialist regimes. I think that is what you're hearing in Rubio's words.
That's your point, sir. Sir, what arguments did Rubio use to persuade Trump that regime change in Venezuela was necessary despite Maduro's offer of oil resources to the United States?
Well, it's not about oil. That's the easiest thing. And I don't think President Trump sees it as oil either. The United States is more than self-sufficient and is an exporter of energy. It was only the policies of the last administration that reversed that. So it's not about the oil. It never was about the oil. It's about getting the deadly drugs off the streets of the United States. It's also what motivated the strong border actions very early on to stop the illegal flow across the southern border of the United States. It is about the death that these narcotics cartel Americans, to the tunes of tens of thousands, dying every year. And fentanyl is just one sample and you're dead. Cocaine is also turning up to be laced with deadly poisons and also kills a very large number of Americans every year as well.